What a gimp. Shut up, moany old Brit. I'm not moaning about anything, guys. I don't care. I behave respectfully. I mean, if we just turn it into fighting, then we're not going to get anywhere. We're just going to continue to get a worse reputation, particularly online. One of the disadvantages, believe it or not, of the ultra convenient lifestyle that Thailand provides is that it's very easy to become very sedentary. A sedentary lifestyle, fall into a routine of not moving much throughout the day. Lucky for me, there's this nice little route which I can enjoy, go for a walk most days. Should do it every day, most days. But I might be playing with fire here, lads, because looks like it might be about to start raining despite the sun creeping through. But in this video I want to talk about a topic which sort of follows up from my last video about are British people ruining Thailand. Now the conclusion that I've come to, my opinion on the matter is, most of the people probably don't know any better. The ones who do get told and decide to argue the point, yes, they are the type of people who give English people, give British people a bad name. But generally, if I was 22 and let's just say I went into 7-Eleven from the beach and I didn't have my shirt on and someone said to me like, oh sorry mate, just to let you know, here it's not like Spain, put your shirt on just out of respect, I'd have no problem listening, taking that advice on board. Let's give these kids the benefit of the doubt. Hopefully they can learn from the mistakes and it doesn't escalate into some, bigger thing than it actually needs to be. Having lived in 3 different countries over the last 15 years, I feel like I'm in a really nice position to talk about learning about different cultures, adapting to different cultures. Whilst many Asian cultures have a lot of crossover, admittedly, particularly Korea and Japan, there is a lot of crossover. That's not saying they're the same country, they're the same culture. In terms of following Confucianism, Confucius was a philosopher, and amongst his teachings was the fact that people should work together for the greater good of society, not focus on the individual, not focus on the individual's needs. I think you could have seen particular evidence of that around 2020 when, whilst most Western people, myself included, hated being told to wear a mask, hated being controlled, because that's the way we've been brought up, that's the way we've been conditioned. In places like Korea, in places like Japan, in places like Thailand, they were much more accepting of the fact, and they showed much less resistance because they knew that if they worked together, the harder they worked, the more they endured collectively, the quicker the problem would be resolved. Even before 2020, if any of you ever went to places like Korea or Japan, I'm sure you kind of associated those masks with Asian countries more so than Western countries. And the reason that you would have seen them prior to the big one is simply because it's an act of consideration. If somebody is sick in Japan, they might be coughing, they might be passing off a few germs, they are going to wear that mask when they travel, when they work in their office, out of respect for others, so they don't pass those germs on. Just show you where we are right now, guys. My building's the big one behind us there, and these beaches from up there look really nice. But actually, when you get down here, some of them are well maintained and some of them are not maintained at all. So this one, whilst it looks perfectly nice, there's quite a lot of rubbish there. I think the actual estate beach is much more maintained further up, whereas this just seems a little bit derelict, even though it is clearly just a beach right there. This little path right here is absolutely beautiful. It's just a really relaxing, peaceful place to walk. I think something else that I learned when I went to Korea and Japan especially was about tipping culture. Now, if you've never been to any of these countries, this might come as a surprise to you, but imagine you turn up in Tokyo or Seoul for the first night of your holiday. You want to have a really good meal, a local meal, so you go into a nice local restaurant. The service is excellent. The restaurant itself, the staff, everything is so warm and welcoming. Enjoy a great meal. It comes through, let's say it's $150 between you and your group, so you think, how much shall I tip here? 10-20%? I'm on holiday, I'll do the right thing, I'll put 20% down. That would actually be taken as somewhat of an insult by the staff. Now, don't get me wrong, they're not going to kick off with you, they're not going to argue with you or anything like that, but in those countries, service, people who work in the service industry, they are simply doing their job. It's not like other countries where you should be rewarded, you should be given extra money, extra incentive to provide good service. Here in Thailand, obviously it's polite to tip, and respectfully, we know that some people are working hard and their actual payment, their actual salaries aren't that high, but they're still working hard to provide good service. Nice little spot here as well. I actually think this is a little bit of a walk promenade for the estate behind us here, but there's never anyone here, so it's a really nice walk just to get out there. My personal perspective is people are working hard. If I feel like they've done a good job, as in, people have been attentive, they've been polite to me, my wife, my baby, then I'm going to tip them well. Now, as a long-term expat or immigrant, as people like to say, you're not an expat, you're an immigrant, absolutely fine if that's what you want to label me as. As a long-term immigrant who has made a life on the other side of the world, I've actually made 3 different lives. I had sort of a young, free party life out in Korea. I had more of a pull against the world life with my wife when we first met out in Japan. It was me and her traveling around the world together. Great experiences, great memories. And here in Thailand, I've sort of settled down into family life. So it's been 3 completely different experiences that reflect my 3 different countries that I've lived in. So as a long-term immigrant, expat, whatever you want to say, I've always been mindful of the fact that I don't want to lose myself. Because whilst I respect every country I've lived in, I think there's some negative aspects that can be quite submissive. I'll give you an example. When I lived in Japan, I had my first contract broken down to me in terms of the salary, and I was told that around half of my contract wage was actually overtime money. So half of the salary itself was just overtime. It was expected that you would not be compensated if you work overtime. Now, anyone who knows Japanese salaryman culture, I'm not a salaryman myself, but anyone who knows that part of the culture knows these guys work bloody hard. It's very unforgiving. You're very much at the mercy of your boss whilst you're employed by a company. And I've got various friends in both Korea and Japan who've told me they don't like it. But if they are to go against that aspect of the culture, if they are to leave at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. whenever their contracted hours finish each day, they're going to get in trouble for it. Maybe not direct trouble, maybe not directly disciplined, but a reputation. They're going to get a reputation. So there are certain ways things work out there. For example, you're not supposed to leave before the boss leaves. The boss is supposed to always be the first person to leave. Your boss has got an appointment at 6:30. Great, it's an easy day for you. You can leave nice and early. If your boss is going to hang around till 10 o'clock, it's a tough day for you. You're going to be there late. I decided on my first day that I'm going to have to use my foreigner card on that one. Now, some people might disagree with this, but I thought, you know what, as long as I get everything done, I'm going to use the fact that I'm new to my advantage here. 6:30 when I officially finished. I hung around an extra 20-30 minutes. I went out into the main office at that time and I sort of said, hey, everything's finished for today, guys. You need me to do anything else? Okay, I've got a meeting with my friend. I'm going to go meet a friend of mine. Now, I was new at the time, so I didn't actually have a friend to meet, but it was kind of like a story. I was going to meet my friend. And from there, the first few weeks, occasionally I'd drop in these little things. Oh, I've got to go meet a couple of friends. There's a friend visiting, etc. I used it to my advantage, and it got to a stage where I would leave 15 to 30 minutes after the official hours every single day, and no one would question it because I had to stay true to who I was, because I didn't want to just hang around. I had things to do. I was in a new country. I wanted to explore. I wanted to go out. I wanted to do things. I didn't want to just give myself to the company. I actually got a friend who's in Japan now. He might be watching this video, who told me that he worked for one of these companies, one of these salaryman companies, let's call them, and he said it killed him. Basically, he said he ended up quitting it after a few months, and it was a tough time for him and his family, but now he's doing something else. He's settled. If you're watching, you'll know who you are. Send me a message to say thank you for mentioning you. You don't really. I've actually not mentioned you at all, ever. Point is, it can take its toll on people, and I didn't want that to happen. I think in that case, I would have ended up resenting Japan. I would have ended up hating Japan. Now, my second time in Japan, I actually went back for a year after my baby was born. I did have a tougher time of it. And when I first left, I was so relieved to be out of there. Like I'd lost a big part of myself, but now a year removed from that, a year and a half removed from that, I missed the place again, and I just wish I would have found more of a balance at that time, because as much as I love being here, I actually think Tokyo, Japan is a more dynamic country when you're younger. I would love to still be out there right now, taking on the world. And, you know, with my Thai wife, I probably would end up moving to Thailand later on, but God, I miss Japan right now. I really do. I really wish I was out there still. With regards to travellers are only here for a short time, guys. And yes, they should behave, of course. I'm not saying people shouldn't behave. I'm not saying bad behaviour should be excused. But sometimes I think we've just got to give them the benefit of the doubt that maybe they just don't know any better. Someone might go into a restaurant, for example, in Tokyo, leave a tip, think they're being polite, and the staff might actually feel like they were being quite rude. It's not their culture. Walking in 7-Eleven here in Thailand without a shirt on, yes, we know, people who are here permanently, people who live here, people who understand the culture more, we know that that is rude. But to a lot of these kids, Thailand's just party central, you know, Koh San Road, Phuket, Pattaya, all these Koh Samui, full moon party, half moon party, whatever they're called, all these things that I experienced 10 years ago, 12 years ago. These people are just experiencing that for the first time, but they're probably not coming for the beautiful temples. They probably don't understand that this is a predominantly Buddhist society. I feel like we need to cut them some slack. And like I say, try to help them. Now, I don't see any foreigners around here. I don't live in a touristy area. I remove myself from all that. But I think if I was down in Rayong, one of my favourite areas, and I did see a young group of lads walking around topless, somewhere that they shouldn't probably be topless, I think I would just say to them, look guys, you're probably going to think I'm a dickhead, but just to let you know, walking around topless here, it's not really respectful to the locals, not respectful to the culture. I'm going to ignore me and say, oh, fuck off, you gimp. Get loads of comments online. What a gimp. Shut up, moany old Brit. I'm not moaning about anything, guys. I don't care. I behave respectfully. I mean, some people might say I should put a t-shirt on whilst I'm walking around in this video. There's always going to be someone who finds something to moan about. There's always going to be someone who tries to bring you down. I've literally just walked down the beach and back. There has to be some context. You have to keep things realistic. You have to approach things realistically. But also, if nobody tries to help people, if nobody tries to share their knowledge, share their wisdom, if we just turn it into fighting, then we're not going to get anywhere. We're just going to continue to get a worse reputation, particularly online. Their country, of course, tourism is a big part of their economy, so I'm not saying they're going to kick out the tourists or anything like that, but we have to respect their country, we have to respect their culture. And with the UK is, it's such a mixed culture. It's so embracing of other cultures and diversity, and there's nothing wrong with that. I've got no problem with the UK being multicultural, but it doesn't mean that other countries are multicultural and other countries have to accept, oh, we're British, we're Brits abroad, this is how we behave. Not everyone has to accept that. I don't think Spanish people like us either. But I think because we're such a big part of their tourism economy, and I haven't been to Spain since I was about 5 years old, by the way, but you know what I'm saying. I think they just accept it. I don't think it's a case of they like it. I think they just accept it that, there's the Brits. But it's not just the Brits, is it, lads? Let's be honest. Loads of countries, all sorts of different countries are out here causing trouble in various ways. You see it on the news, different crimes going on. I think it's just the social media aspect. It's easy to see the Brits because so many of them are doing the same thing. Everyone's got her own little TV show in the hand, just like me right now. This is my little TV show, guys. This is the Bobby Thompson Show. Thank you for tuning in. Not looking for any arguments with anyone. If you disagree with me, that's absolutely fine. I'm just out here offering my 2 cents. If you've watched this far, I appreciate it. See you in the next one. Bye.